Okay, this morning on story time, I'm taking a break from sanding this morning. Go back to work on my wife's LS for a few minutes. But I thought I would share with everybody a story of where we traded a bottle of whiskey for a Dodge truck. Now, yes, you're wondering, yes, we were on the end, we had the bottle of whiskey, and somebody else wanted the Dodge truck. So, for those of you that never got a chance to meet Jimmy Poole, he was a buddy of ours. He actually passed away a couple years ago. But anytime he was involved with an adventure, you were going to have fun. There was going to be a story. So one day he comes to work, and one of my other buddies is a Dodge nut. He absolutely loves Dodge vehicles, anything about it. So he comes to work and says, "Hey man, I know where there's a Dodge truck that you can get real cheap." And says, "Okay, we're all in, we're listening." And he kind of jokingly says, "Well, you can trade this man," he said, "a bottle of whiskey for the truck." Well, that got my attention, because I was like, this has got to be a real winner of a truck. I need to see this. So I decide I'm going along for the adventure. So we load up, go to a place called Rockbridge Baths, which it's outside of Lexington, Virginia, but the locals will know where Rockbridge Baths is. It's the home of Rick Max, by the way. We go to basically a single wide trailer out beside a cornfield. And they have, sure enough, there's a white Dodge truck. 4-wheel drive, 1-ton, military issue Dodge. Now, in the 70s and 80s, Dodge and GM had massive military contracts where they sold trucks to the U.S. military by the tens of thousands. So sure enough, years later, they come up on the surplus market, and you'll still run across them and find them. Now, what made them military trucks was generally the drivetrain was beefed up just a little bit more than average. The engine combos in them were actually terrible because, remember, they were doing it cheap on a government bid. Okay, you had to be the lowest bidder to get the contract, so they would beef up axles and cheap out on engines. But sure enough, we show up this little trailer, Dodge 1-ton military truck. Now, John, he's all in. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're taking this home." Well, I'm like, "Well, we need to see if it runs." So we pour a little bit of gas down the carburetor. We brought a battery with us because Jimmy said it had been sitting a while. So we bring the battery, put it in it, put a little gas down the carburetor, and sure enough, she fires to life. Now, it had serious holes in the exhaust from sitting in years of rust, but it did fire up. Well, we noticed one of the tires was flat. So we send Jimmy back to his house to get an 8-lug wheel that would hold air. So he comes back in like 5 minutes. We put a tire on the truck, and they're like, "Okay, what are we going to do now?" I said, "Well, I'm going to drive it home." And they were like, "You're going to drive?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll drive it." Because John was not going to let me drive his new Mustang. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Now, how a Chrysler Mopar man ended up on a Mustang, well, it's a whole different story. But he had a new Mustang, and I could tell he wasn't going to let me drive it. So I decided, yeah, what the heck? I'll hop in the truck. You know, I've driven a Dodge military 1-ton truck before. I said, I'll drive. Now, mind you, this truck was sitting outside the single-wide trailer, and they had been using the truck as a trash can. They would basically step out the porch, which consisted of pallets nailed together, stacked up the height of the door of the trailer, with steps going down. They would step out, take their trash bag, and throw it in the back of the truck. Because for those of you that live in rural areas, you don't have trash pickup to come to your house and pick up the trash. You have to take your trash to collection areas where they have several dumpsters set up. So once a week or however many days it takes you to get several bags, you just drive down, throw your trash in, and go on. Well, evidently, they thought that was too much effort. So, they had just been using the truck as a trash bin. Now, the bed is completely full, and the cab is half full of trash. And you can just imagine it's everything you'd find in a house. All your household garbage is in the truck. So, truck fires up. It's loud. Remember the exhaust that's not working. And we drive off, and I make it maybe 100 yards out of the driveway of the house, heading towards the giant metropolis of Rockbridge Baths. And I get about 100 yards, and hot summer day, it's middle of August, it's about to rain, so the humidity is about 900%. So I start to roll down the windows in the truck to get some ventilation going, because you know good and well a military truck didn't have air conditioning. So when I roll down the windows, of course, all the little Kroger and Walmart bags and Food Line, all those bags start blowing around inside the cab of the truck, because I can't reach over and roll down the passenger side window to get air going through. So just rolling down one window, I've now created a trash tornado in the truck. So there's whatever plastic bags were in there that were light are now flying around in the truck. Well, several of them are flying over, the wind gets them, and then they go right down and go on my feet. It's summertime. I'm wearing shorts, tennis shoes, and the bags, I'm getting them off my legs, throwing them, driving, throwing the bags, not really looking down anymore. It's bags flying all over. And then all of a sudden, as I'm driving, one of the bags doesn't want to leave my leg. I'm kicking it, driving along, kick the leg, the bag doesn't leave my leg. So as I'm driving, I look down. Now, mind you, when I look down, it's not a bag. It's a 5-foot black snake wrapped around my leg, around the calf of my leg, right about here, has come out of the truck, wrapped around my leg, and he is heading back on under the dash. Now, mind you, he's not trying to bite me, because from the snake's perspective, all of a sudden his house has become mobile, and he would like to get out. So he didn't want to bite me. He just wanted to get off the ride. He wanted to stop. So I see that he's not actively trying to bite me. So I'm like, ooh, I probably need to leave. So all in one motion, I grab the door handle, grab the gear shifter, and step out the truck and pull the gear shifter up in park. Now, as I jump out the truck, I'm doing 35 miles an hour. And even with adrenaline, all the adrenaline running from, a snake wrapped around my leg and stepping out of the truck, I can't run 35 miles an hour. But I managed to for about 3 to 4 really, really big steps. I managed to, stay upright. Well, when I jump out the truck, John is directly behind me in the Mustang. And the truck goes off into the cornfield this way with the park gear going off into the corn. Well, Sprouse swerves this way to avoid the truck going off in the cornfield, but I'm trying to run at 35 miles an hour unsuccessfully. So Sprouse has to dodge me, as I'm trying not to barrel roll down the highway. I end up going off into the ditch into the other field. So basically, John stops the car, gets out, and goes, "What happened?" And I said, "There's a blank snake in the truck." And he goes, "No way." Well, at that same time, Jimmy pulls up, slams on the brakes in his truck, and I tell him what's going on, and he starts belly laughing. And he's just, ho, ho, ho. And I'm basically like, we got to get him out of there, because I'm not driving the truck with him continuing to wrap around my leg. So I find in the back of the truck, remember all the garbage in the bed, trash can, they had taken an old vacuum cleaner, the whole thing, and just pitched it in the truck. So I take the wand extension, when you're vacuuming. I took the wand extension, take it off the vacuum. I'm in the truck, up under the dash, and I managed to wrap the black snake around it and fling him out through the cornfield. He got out of the truck. I don't know if he was happy about how he got out, but he got out. So, we're standing there and laugh about it for a few minutes, and then we go to take off again. Now, mind you, the way everybody parked is Jimmy pulled up in front so I could get the truck out of the cornfield. So that puts Jimmy in front, me in the snake truck in the middle, Sprouse in the back of the Mustang. We continue to drive on. Now it starts downpouring rain. The summertime thunderstorm, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, boom, toad strangler. It's raining so hard I can't even see. And in my moment of not thinking, my pea-bicking brain turned the wipers on, not thinking that this truck had been sitting for possibly the past 10, 15, 20 years with pine needles all up on the wiper blades. So instantly, the wipers, when they drag across the windshield, smear mud and pine needles all over the windshield. So not only was the windshield wet, raining really hard, no Rain-X involved, and it was hard to see where I was driving, now it's muddy and hard to see where I'm driving. So I cut the wipers back off, hoping that the rain will wash the windshield. So I'm driving a little bit more, and I'm basically following the taillights of Jimmy's truck. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am just seeing the taillights. When he goes left, I go left. When he goes right, I go right. Because pretty much that's all I can see. So I notice we start going up a hill. I can feel that we're going up a hill. And Jimmy starts to pull away. He's going faster up the hill. Because it's literally his backyard. It's like a mile from his house. So he knows the roads. He has just gone. So I am trying to give it more gas, go faster, and keep up with those two taillights, because pretty much that's my only reference as to not drop off a cliff or run into the side of the mountain. That was my reference, was those two taillights. So I mash on the gas to go faster so I can keep up with him. The gas pedal doesn't respond. I'm thinking all the scenarios in my head. I'm thinking bad gas. You know, maybe the points are worn on the distributor. I've got a vacuum hose, that's not working. The engine's not wanting to rev anymore. That poor old wore out low cam 318 is giving me everything it had, and it wasn't enough. So I'm watching these two taillights get smaller and smaller. Well, I'm mashing the gas, and then my brain starts to realize the gas pedal is spongy. As I'm mashing, and I'm trying to push. I am really, really pushing down on the gas pedal, and it's not revving. So I finally looked down, because I was intent on them two taillights. I didn't want a moment's lapse in looking. I looked down. There is now a much bigger 6-foot black snake. Very, very angry that I am smashing the crap out of him. Because he had tried to come down out of the dash to follow his brother, cousin, sister's cousin's girlfriend, lover, whatever, whoever I tossed out in the other cornfield. He's trying to go with them. Until that point, he got under the gas pedal, and I mashed him. Now, luckily for me, he was only about that far out under the gas pedal when I mashed him. So he is coiled up, trying to strike my shin. Now, mind you, I had shorts on. Remember that part? Hot summertime shorts? He is striking at my shin about 400 times per second, it looks like. And he is missing me by that far every time. If he could get a hold of my shin, he would wear me out until next Tuesday. And I'm looking down, and I see this. And my brain immediately recognizes, if I let up, he's on me. So I'm looking up, taillights, snake. Taillights, snake. Taillights, snake. So my brain is trying to process all this, because last time I just door handle, gear shift, out the truck. There's a new element of danger we have added to the calculus equation here. So all this is running through my head. We come to a T in the road, and Jimmy steps on the brakes for the stop sign and comes to a stop. Now I see this, and in my brain, I'm processing, if I leave my foot on the gas, I'm not going all that fast, because remember, I couldn't keep up with Jimmy. But he's going to be upset if I ram him at whatever throttle I've got in the back of his truck. He's my buddy. We're friends, But he's going to be upset if I drive right into the back of him with a military truck. So I'm processing in my head. I lit up. I'm going to get snake bit. I drive into the back of Jimmy. He's going to shoot me. Okay? So I'm like, well, I need to think all this out. Now, all this is going through my brain at about 500 miles an hour as I'm doing taillights, snake, taillights, snake. So at the moment when Jimmy finally comes to a stop, when his taillights are really bright, he's come to a stop. I'm like, well, it's go time. It's game time decision here. I do the same maneuver again. Door handle, gear shifter, but I changed something this time. When I pulled the gear shifter to park, I grabbed the steering wheel and turned as it came with me, did one of these motions as it came with me, but I came out of the truck with my toe and my foot extended as far as I could, because last time I jumped out, I was trying to do my best Carl Lewis and run. This time, I thought it was more prevalent that I keep my foot on the gas to keep the appropriate pressure on the angry black snake at my feet. So when I come out of the truck, I've got my toe extended, park, steering wheel yanked hard left to avoid Jimmy, and dive out the truck. Now, the truck does miss Jimmy. It goes, I got a good pull on the steering wheel. She makes a hard left, drives into another cornfield, a whole different one. You know, the farmers, after this was all over, had to wonder what went on. But the truck goes off into the cornfield, park gear just ratcheting for all it's got. Basically, John was ready this time. He'd come to a stop, and I bail out and go into the ditch, get up, and Jimmy sees the truck come past him and go off into the field. He gets out, and we're all standing in a downpouring rain, and he is already belly laughing. He already knows what has happened. I didn't even have to tell him. I said, there's another snake. And he's still just belly laughing. And he's like, we gonna get it out? I said, well, I kept the wand. I kept the vacuum cleaner wand. Now this snake is angry. He doesn't want to come out of the truck now because I've mashed him for the past 5 minutes. So he's pissed off. So we stand there in a downpouring rain, take the wand, finally get him out and sling him through the cornfield. Now, whether they ever met up again for a happy ending love story, I'll never know. But, so we get that out, back the truck back out in the road, and John is standing there soaking wet, and he looks at me and he goes, you're not going to make me drive the truck, are you? I looked at him straight face as I could, and I said, no, we're on a mission. We're going to make it home now. So, I hop back in the truck. Jimmy peels off and goes to his house, which was like a half a mile from the stop sign. He's just laughing as he drives away. So now I'm in front, and Sprouse is behind me. And we drive from Rockbridge Baths. We go through, we're going towards Goshen, and then on to Clifton. Now, mind you, it's still doing the downpouring rain. It was one of those summertime flash flood, toad strangler storms. We get to a place called Bratton's Run, which the locals will know where that's at. They have a sawmill there. They make creosote railroad ties. You can smell the place long before you ever get there. But they have a tiny little creek called Bratton's Run right beside the sawmill that on a normal day, you can just take a good step and go right across Bratton's Run. It's that small of a stream. Mind you, it's been raining for 30 minutes now, so hard that you can't hardly see. I'm coming down the road, and remember the odd tire we had to put on there, because we had one flat, so we have 3 sizes of tire and then one different one. Because Jimmy didn't happen to have the same size tire, he just had a 8-lug tire. Now the Dodge, being a military truck, is full-time 4-wheel drive at all times. So there was no lockout hubs, no kicking the transfer case, into 2-wheel drive. It was, she's going to pull all the time at all times. So I'm driving it, and at about 45 miles an hour, the shake in the steering wheel is where I can control it. Any slower, and the vibration through the wheel is so bad, I think the fillings are coming out of my teeth. And anything above 45, I can't see where I'm going in front of me because it's raining so hard. So I was keeping it about 45. I get to Bratton's Run. Didn't even think a thing about it. I'm just focused on the road. Okay, there's grass on this side, grass on this side. There's a road in the middle. Hammer down. When I get to Bratton's Run, I don't realize that Bratton's Run has went from the tiny little stream that you could pour out with a 5-gallon bucket to a raging torrent that's 1.5 feet deep in the road. It has come up over the bridge, went through the road, and it's 1.5 feet deep, raging through there. I don't see it. I'm barreling along. Nobody else is on the road. I hit that raging water 45 miles an hour. And all I see is a wall of water. Muddy water, mind you. Straight up and over the truck. And just, basically, it did wash the windshield. It was an unintended feature, but it did wash the pine needles off the window. But the truck, 9,000 pounds, just barreled right through the water. Sprouse coming behind me in the new Mustang, about that high off the ground, basically said that I looked like Moses parting the Red Sea when I hit that water. He said, because he had no idea either. He was looking at me, not looking ahead. He said that when he went through, there was only an inch or two of water when he went through, and it just splashed, and he heard it under the car, that I had completely caused 2 waves. And he basically made it through unscathed and as low as that Mustang was. I had parted the water for him. So we make it through that. Then, I'm going down the road. Now, mind you, the 2 snakes in the truck have turned me into a basically radar machine. I'm driving, scan, drive, scan, drive, scan. I'm looking for any movement in there. The trash bags are still blowing around. So I'm looking for any consistent movement going on. Well, if any of you know the little beetles, I don't know the correct name for them, we call them June bugs. They're a little hard shell beetle that have really prickly legs on them. One of those beetles, whether he was in the truck or flies in the window, I don't know. But he gets in the truck, lands on my leg about right here. And he gets in the hair on my leg, and those little feet basically stab me when he clings on. And I almost had a come apart in the truck, thinking I'd been bit. Because I was doing my, I was like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I was like, scan, drive, scan, drive. And when that June bug got on my leg, I was like a squirrel in a shoebox inside that truck. I didn't jump out this time because I was going way too fast to jump out. And I was in a bunch of row of houses. There was no way I could let the truck go. If you've ever been along 39, this section, there's houses like right on the road. I could have sent a military truck through somebody's living room. So I stayed with it. And I looked down and that June bug was stuck to my leg and I was like, oh. I was like, okay, heart check. So I get him off my leg. Back on the gas. We make it home without any further incidents. Now, mind you, we drove 45 minutes from our house. We had no license plates. We had no insurance. There definitely was not an inspection sticker on the vehicle. And it really, really shouldn't have been on the road, even if it had these other things. We get it home. And at that time, we parked vehicles at my mother's house. My mom was really cool about letting us park vehicles at her house when we were working on them as kids. She would harass us a little bit, but all my friends stored vehicles at our house. So we pulled John's truck in, add it to the inventory there at Mom's. And we pull up, and we're laughing about the story. And of course, Mom and my brother, they come out of the house, and we're telling the story. We're telling them everything that's went on. And as we're standing there talking, another black snake comes out of a hole in the bed of the truck, drops down to the yard, and goes slithering across the yard to the neighbor's house. And the only thing my mom can say, after she's heard the story about the other two snakes, just witness one drop out and go across. Basically, her comment was, I hope all of them keep going to the neighbors. Don't send any this way. Got it. Okay. So now, after all that effort, we get the truck. Sprouse takes a couple parts on or off, years down the road. When he would need one part, come take that off. It finally made it to a point where we were cleaning up. We were getting rid of a bunch of vehicles. I put it up on the old FB marketplace. Somebody running in the Pullen series tags the ad. Decides that those 1-ton military axles are what they needed. Well, then two guys, they get in like a bidding war wanting those axles. So a truck that we traded a bottle of whiskey, which I don't know if the guy ever technically got the bottle of whiskey or not. He wasn't at home when we picked the truck up, so I don't know if he was ever technically given his bottle of whiskey. But the guys show up. Pay me the money for the axles. Take the whole truck. Because I was like, I'm not going to spend the time to take the axles out. You can just take the truck and you can do that at home. So he hands me a stack of cash. I'm like, cool, it's gone. I go into work. Go into John's desk. Throw cash down on his desk. And he goes, oh, what's that from? I said, I sold your truck. He goes, oh, cool. Rakes off some money, hands it back up to me. And I go, what's that? He goes, oh, I figured that's something for you. I said, I've already taken my half out of that. I said, that's all your half. He goes, oh. He said, I never believed we got that much. I said, no. I said, somebody wanted that truck way more than a bottle of whiskey. I said, but hopefully all the snakes were out of the truck. But, so now we all joke about, Samuel L. Jackson, snakes on a plane. Well, now we can all say, we've had David and snakes in a truck. So, that's the story for today. Hope y'all got a good laugh out of it. And as always, thank you, Lord.
Thank you for today.